The attack is huge in scope, and New York's street-level heroes and the Avengers arrive to defend Earth, the last realm standing. Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and it's time to dive into War of the Realms number 1. Jason Aaron of Thor fame has been setting this event up for several years now. Oddly, Marvel Comics seems to have gone out of their way to kill enthusiasm, with several grifts aimed at fleecing LCSs and readers. Marvel has included far too many tie-ins, miniseries, and variant covers, all practices stores and customers are fed up with. It sucks too, because all in all, this issue isn't bad. Before the story gets moving, you get a nice setup for the issue and this key of all the important characters in the story. I'm pretty apprehensive that Aaron can do 28 characters justice, no matter how many issues he writes. This is an event book, so I expect less character development, but the story should make up for it with great character moments. Can he create enough character moments to justify such an enormous cast? Only time will tell. Russell Dauterman is the lead artist on War of the Realms. I've seen a lot of people raving about the quality of the work, which I agree is good, but not spectacular like some are saying. Dauterman uses a very fine line art style that adds a pleasant aesthetic. He creates a lot of detail in the book, and to be perfectly honest, I'm surprised he drew this solo. The sheer amount of established characters and settings throughout is a bit much for the reader, so I imagine it was doubly so for Dauterman. His layouts are really cool, and he utilizes a lot of different angles in his panel work. For the most part, it works really well. Matthew Wilson is on the colors, so you know Marvel wants this art to be extra special. He has his hands full with the volume of colorful characters and handles it very well. During close-ups of our heroes, Dauterman adds an exquisite amount of detail that serves Aaron's characters well. One of the visual effects that's used multiple times is an action scene within the sound effect art. I can see this working well, but here the colors are too muted and it's hard to make out what is actually happening. I really enjoy when artists utilize effects to create depth to the visuals. Dauterman and Wilson do this throughout War of the Realms, and it doesn't really work for me. I think adding blur to the foreground scenery works well, but placing it on actual characters distracted me on several occasions. I was busy trying to figure out who the character was rather than observe the main scene. The art in War of the Realms number 1 is very good and has the epic feel it needs, and I rate it a 4 out of 5. As I mentioned earlier, I'm skeptical writer Jason Aaron can make good use of the sheer volume of major characters. At least 20 characters spanning the Thor books and Earth-based Marvel settings are introduced, and it's very hard to make many of them stand out. Aaron tries his hardest to convey how Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Wolverine, and Punisher witnessed the beginning of the attacks on Midgard, but it all feels a bit bleh to me. Besides the overstuffed roster, the thing that really holds Aaron's character work back is the amount of lame dialogue and jokes. If you really like MCU-style toddler humor, you may find this enjoyable, but none of it's to my taste. This joke where Hildegard wants to kill Spidey before he lays his eggs falls flatter than Captain Marvel's derriere. Spidey even throws in a weak reality TV line. Lady Sif's talk of refugees and isolationism is really out of place, and thankfully Aaron doesn't give us any more talking points later in the book. For an event as serious as the full-on invasion of Midgard, after Malekith and his Dark Elves have destroyed the other 9 realms, the dialogue is far too campy. Spidey claiming he's an honorary guard, Hildegard telling Spider-Boy to stop his gibbering, Freya calling Cap Captain of America doesn't fit the tone of the events or art. Even the joke where the trolls call dibs on She-Hulk due to her smashing ability feels like it was ripped off from Tormund in Game of Thrones. There are a few good character moments with Odin, Loki, and Thor, but they can't compensate for Jason Aaron's tone-deaf dialogue and terrible jokes. I'll give the character work in War of the Realms number 1 a 1.5 out of 5. Thankfully for Aaron, this is an event book, so most readers are likely buying it for an epic-sized story. Odin's fellow Asgardians have relocated to the Bronx, leaving the king isolated on his throne, where he is quickly dispatched by Malekith. Loki arrives on Thor's boat on Midgard and is gravely wounded. Thor demands he use the Black Bifrost so he can confront Malekith personally. They travel to Loki's birth realm, where it's revealed his companion is actually Malekith himself, and Thor is left with a group of ice giants. Then the main event occurs. Malekith's army of black elves, trolls, fire golems, and war angels begin their war on Midgard. The attack is huge in scope, and New York's street-level heroes and the Avengers arrive to defend Earth, the last realm standing. Malekith and his team of Lick, Curse, Cinder, Queen of Heaven, the Enchantress, and Dario Agger arrive on Midgard to lead the assault. The situation on Midgard could not look bleaker to end the book. The story is very simple, but epic in scale, as it should be. There are a few unexpected deaths, and when the dialogue isn't cringy, the story is a very fun read. I'll rate Aaron's plot work 3 out of 5. When issue 1 finishes, Marvel includes this nifty event checklist for April. After reading issue 1, you don't need to read all these books. The event isn't going to be so spectacular that they're all can't miss. If you've been waiting for War of the Realms for years, yeah, pick them all up. If you're Joe Blow normie like me, you can definitely just read the main War of the Realms books without the tie-ins or miniseries and be just fine. War of the Realms #1 is a fun read with good art, but is filled with bad dialogue and jokes and doesn't nearly justify the $6 cover price. I rate this issue a 3 out of 5 and recommend it to anyone looking for some mindless popcorn flick style fun. If you're a character-driven reader, this likely isn't the story for you, and your time will be better spent on other books. If you're interested but can wait, I'm certain this book was over-ordered and will be available at half price within 3 or 4 weeks at your LCS. I plan on continuing to read and review the main books, but won't be going out of my way to read any of the tie-ins and will be skipping all the miniseries. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat Po, and I'm out.